Hey everybody, welcome to week 4. I decided to make just a little video because I want to pass on something that's really important that I've started passing on to some of you, but not everybody. And that is um, one of the more challenging things, as you've heard me say over the past couple of weeks anyway, about the dissertation process is finding the problem that has yet to be investigated by anyone, that little slice of investigation that you want to do. With evidence that suggests and supports the fact that your study should be done. The evidence must come from, as you know, peer-reviewed journals and the scientific community and all that. So I've spoken a lot about the problem statement, and then of course the purpose is to investigate the problem. But you also, in the purpose, say how you want to investigate the stuff. So the purpose of this qualitative study, the purpose of this quantitative study, and whatever type of study it is. So it might be a quantitative correlational study or what have you. But in your purpose statement, you're saying, well, I want to investigate this problem, and pretty much this is how I want to do it. And then later on in chapter 3, you'll describe very specifically how you want to collect data and what process you want to use, qualitative, quantitative, and so on, and the particular method. Okay, so I've talked about that, and that's not what I want to talk about now. What I want to talk about now is the single most challenging thing I faced when I started. Not the dissertation, but when I started my doctoral program, and like everybody else, had to write papers. So I wrote my first paper, and I sent it in, and I thought I did a really good job. And it came back. And I had written quite a few pages, I think 40 or 50 pages. It was a very substantial paper on leadership and management. And I sent it in, and it came back with more red ink than I thought existed on the planet. I mean, the faculty member really introduced me to the challenge of writing, and not just writing street language writing, but writing at the doctoral scholarly manner, in a doctoral scholarly manner. And then, of course, with all of the APA formatting correct, which I had not a clue how to do that. And it took me a while, as it takes everybody. I'm not a professional writer, and I don't think any of the 7 of you are professional writers who have spent years and years writing dissertation type documents. You are experts in your field, and I am an expert in my field, as you are. But back then I couldn't write a scholarly document to save my life, so I had to learn. And by the time I got to the dissertation stage, I was better, but I still didn't have it quite ironed out the way it needed to be. So back and forth between me and the chair and the committee, with all sorts of recommendations for not only what to say, but how to say it, to get the writing correct, to eliminate grammar errors, punctuation errors, capitalization errors, sentence structure errors, logic in writing errors, things that editors would typically do. And I've written 2 books, and when I thought I was done with them and I thought they looked pretty good, I sent them to the editor, and it came back with an amazing number of mistakes that I just could not see because I was so close to it. So that's going to happen to each of you. I absolutely guarantee you. Some of you are better writers than others. That's to be expected. If some of you, if English is a second language, that makes it even more challenging if that's happening to you out there. So here's what I do. And this is the important part, folks. When you send me a submission, and it's sort of a draft form, and all I'm looking for, as I have up to this point, I've looked at and I said, I just want to make sure that the problem statement is in the language it needs to be. At least that general and specific problem are in the language it needs to be to get past the university, to pass, to say, okay, yeah, we agree, we, the university, the faculty, and the leadership agree that your problem and your purpose and how you want to investigate your problem all make sense. We support it, and you've got evidence to support the fact that this problem exists, and you've got at least the beginnings of a plan on how you want to investigate that problem and collect data and uncover whether the problem exists or not, or the nature of it. We're not interested in your solutions, by the way. If you're saying the purpose of this dissertation is to solve this problem and fix this broken thing, that will never fly because you don't know if it's broken until you have the data. Okay, enough about that. Getting back to the writing. What I will be doing with you folks as we move forward, and you send me more and more of either your prospectus or your first draft of your proposal or the first chapters of your proposal, is I will start to read them, and I will highlight in yellow highlighting any grammar errors, any writing errors that I see, up until about 20. And when I hit 20 or so writing errors, I'll stop. Because at that point, what's going on, folks, and this is so important that you recognize that, at least for me, and I think probably almost any faculty member who would read your work, when the writing errors are plentiful, the distractions are also plentiful. I'm not getting it. I'm not taking in what you're saying. You understand it, but the language that you're writing makes it difficult for me and others. So I just get distracted by the writing. Why is there a comma? There doesn't be a comma. Or that grammatically that's incorrect. It should have said were instead of was. Blah, 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 blah. I mean, all the different kinds of writing errors that you can imagine. So what I will be doing is putting writing right at the top of the list. If you send me something and you get it back and there's a whole bunch of little yellow highlighter in your document, highlighted phrases, highlighted punctuation, all that means is that's wrong. I'm not here to correct it. I'm not a writing instructor. I'm not an English teacher. I'm not your editor, and nor is your other committee member. You know, we are here to guide your work, not do your work. So know this, that if you send it to me, and it's okay, it's iterations, and this is the learning process, but it'll come back. Now, if it does come back, here's the expectation, and that expectation is to call upon the Walden resources. And you know, I'm new to Walden, so during my orientation, they introduced me to all of the resources for the faculty and all the resources for the students. And I know from my training that there's a lot of resources out there to help you with writing, including people, writing coaches or mentors or something at, I think, the Writing Center. But there are things, and you probably know more about these than I do, but it's so important that if you're getting things back from me, you've got to know that until the writing is about right, you know, one or two little typos on a page or two, fine. But 15 or 20 or 30 typos in a page or two, not fine. That will stop me dead in my tracks, and I will say, help, I need your help. I need you to get the writing right, okay? Once you get the writing right, correct, and once you get the problem and purpose statements correct, and we go, yes, that's it, that's what you want to know, you can return to the background. You can go forward with the rest of chapters, well, the rest of the prospectus components, and then on into chapter 1 once the prospectus is done. Most of you are still at that let's get the prospectus approved stage. And I can assure you, absolutely assure you, that if the prospectus has a lot of writing errors in it, it's going to come back. It'll come back from me, and if I forward it, it's probably going to come back from administration. They're just going to say, no, I don't think so. Dr. Kohlberg will say, no. And she was an English teacher, so you know, yeah, we've got that going for us. So those are the two things to be thinking about this week. You go, where am I in my prospectus? Number one, when I'm ready to submit it, the writing has got to be good. Before that, or along with that, that problem and purpose statements have to be agreed upon. You've got to convince me and help me understand what it is, the problem, what the problem is, the evidence that you say the problem, the evidence that you have that says the problem exists, and at least the beginnings by way of your purpose statement of how you want to go about and investigate it. And you know, when I get your work, I read that everything you send me, and all I'm looking for is the problem is, the general problem is, I go, okay, I agree that's a problem. And the specific problem, if you like to use that terminology, I just have to understand what it is that you're trying to investigate. And all of the APA formatting, you know, has got to be there in these things that we post in our discussions. You know, the rubric now is saying, well, the student should be using APA formatting in their discussion posts. Well, my comment is, well, if we're working on your rubric and on your proposal or on your prospectus, then yeah, your APA citations should be correct. And if they're missing or not correct, then that's going to affect the discussion score according to what I've just been told by administration as the new guy. Okay, enough of all this. Just know that if you get a paper back, if you submit something and say, please take a look at it, I'll take a look at it and I will read it and I will respond, but I will halt my review and my feedback if what I see is many writing errors. Then I'll just give it back to you and say, I can't even comment on this because there's so many writing errors. Now remember, I went through all this. I think probably 95 or 99% of students go through it. We are not professional writers. Okay? I'm a former Air Force and airline pilot, so I know aviation. If I said to you, go fly an airplane tomorrow, you'd say, I've never flown an airplane. And I say, well, of course you haven't. So you have to learn, and that takes time and practice, and it's the same thing for doctoral level scholarly research writing. All right? So don't say, well, I can just fix, when Dr. Mike sends a paper back, I can just go and fix those little highlighted areas. I'm not going to highlight the whole document. I'll highlight enough until I'm going to send it back. Get your writing coach as a part of your team and move forward, and I think you'll be so much happier that you did. So that's it for now. I hope during this 3-week period we can get to a point where some of the prospecti are ready to submit, and you move, most of you, we've got 6 of you are at the prospectus stage, 1 is at the proposal stage. I'd love to see all of you, the other 6, get past that prospectus stage and get that thing approved. And all you have to do is get the problem statement, purpose statement past me, and do a good job on the writing, and you're there. All right, if you have any questions, let me know. Take care, everybody. See you all in the threads.